As a nation, we are increasingly fearful of crime and concerned about safety. There are already over 4.3 million surveillance cameras in the UK, so it's no surprise that they are becoming commonplace in the nation's schools. Alongside cameras, schools are resorting to a range of security measures, from innovative building design through to metal detectors and sophisticated tracking devices.
If we opened up all the facilities that were available, mums and dads could look how many times their youngster had been to the toilet, what time they went, what they had for lunch, and we haven't gone that far. It sounds a little bit Big Brother that way, but we do use it to provide security and peace of mind for mums and dads and for children.
We could make society completely safe by having cameras in everybody's home and cameras everywhere so people were watched all the time. The trade-off is people's freedom in that. Do we really want a situation where we're utterly safe and utterly watched all the time?
Unlike Faywood, where they choose not to use surveillance for internal monitoring, at Grace Academy they believe technology provides new ways of safeguarding students.
The tracking is all controlled by a central computer and it's accessed through our learning gateway. So members of staff, mums and dads, can drill down, and in fact if we opened up all the facilities that were available, mums and dads could look how many times their youngster had been to the toilet, what time they went, what they had for lunch, and we haven't gone that far. It sounds a little bit Big Brother that way, but we do use it to provide security and peace of mind for mums and dads and for children.
But opponents of these methods say that technology is being used as a substitute for positive human relationships.
We are seeing an increasing use of CCTV and other surveillance gizmos to cover up shortages of staff. We are cramming children into very large buildings in very large numbers, and I don't think that's healthy at all. We're treating schools more and more as places of discipline and authority and places of control. I don't think that's conducive to good relationships. I don't think it's conducive to learning.
I think the surveillance nation fears are real. The UK has more CCTV cameras per capita than any other country in the world. It's fact. We have lots of CCTV. However, what is also fact is that we have quite serious behavioural problems in many of our schools, and our children's children are the ones that do need to be protected.
It is definitely more secure, but it comes at a price of people would think they're being invaded by certain things around the school, like the cameras, and having your own identity that everybody knows what you're doing. People feel invaded by that, but it doesn't really bother me personally, but I think it would bother other people.
The security measures at Grace have made some students feel safer there than at their old school, Whitesmoor.
You feel safe here. In Whitesmoor I never would have felt safe in leaving my bag somewhere, or while I'm in drama putting something down, but now that you've got CCTV in the corridors, you feel like, yeah, you're being watched, but you're being watched by someone who cares for you.
We do questionnaires, formal questionnaires, 3 times a year, where we specifically ask parents the question, how safe does your child feel within Grace Academy? And we get very, very high degree of positive comments from parents. It's almost 100% that say that they strongly agree that their child is very, very safe.
You have to be upfront with parents and with children that they are safe, or as safe as you can be in a situation. And given the world that we live in and the times that we live in, security is important and it's high up on the agenda.
Knife crime is high on the agenda in the city of Southampton.
Tragically, last year we had the murder of Lewis Singleton, which was the catalyst for the creation of us looking in particular at knife crime within Southampton and what was the best way for us to tackle it. and how we can tackle it on a whole range of fronts, be that through education, be that through enforcement, be that through community reassurance and engagement. We decided through the Safer City Partnership and Southampton City Council, with the support of the local educational authority and schools, to issue schools with metal detector wands. It is purely a piece of equipment that can help teachers search pupils should they wish to do so.
All Southampton secondary schools have been issued with the wands, and at the largest school in the city, they're using them as a teaching aid as well as a security measure.
One of you four has a knife, and I'm here to get it. Oh, crikey.
Why'd you always pick on me?
Head teacher Susan Trigger is staunchly in favour of the council's approach.
The opportunity to have these free resources was voted on and seen to be a very good idea. It's just another tool in our range of like equipment. You know, it's not something that we have to do.
Shut up, man! I'll rinse you. I don't have a knife.
I think it just adds another level of security to the school. Makes us feel a bit more safer, even though it's a very safe environment already.
Not to my knowledge being used so far, which is a good sign. But just in case if anything does crop up, we have them to use.
I've had a number of complaints. Numerous complaints. The one is you is carrying a knife.
What are you looking at me for?
I wasn't looking at you in particular.
Bad-mouthing.
We had, in every performance, we had a teacher with a metal detector looking for a concealed weapon. How do you feel about that in the school situation?
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem if I was suspected carrying a knife being searched by a teacher, which I don't. Like, you know, I don't carry knives. But if I was, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because it's like they've got to do their job and they've got to protect the pupils and themselves and other teachers.
I think it might be a bit bad because it might distress the pupils and their parents, and that might have a lack of pupils coming to the school the next year, and then same goes because they'll be afraid that there might be a knife in there somewhere and they just haven't got the person yet.
I think previously there's been problems with students not wanting teachers to like frisk them and stuff, and I think this new metal detector's overcome that problem, and I think most students won't have a problem with being swiped by the metal detector, because if it's going to save them from something later, then it's going to be worth it.
I'm not persuaded that that's an answer to any problem. You introduce metal detectors in schools and you turn the school into a sort of fortress. Kids will be very smart about getting around that. I'm not aware, for example, that the carrying of knives within school is a major issue. Heads that I talk to don't describe that as commonplace or a major problem, or the use of knives within school premises. If you had a metal detector, I think they would dump them in or hide them on their way to and from, if they're carrying them.
And like so many schools these days, Bitton Park School is equipped with a full complement of CCTV cameras.
Over the last couple of years, there's been a significant investment in CCTV, probably made easier by developments in technology, because it's now recorded to hard drive that rewrites itself every 7 days, and it covers most of the major entry and exit points within the school, but also in the corridors as well. I think we found from experience that the students like that, there was initial concern from them. They felt that Big Brother was watching them, but we don't actually watch the CCTV cameras as much as they think we do.
I can understand schools having CCTV cameras for external security purposes, and we do have a lot of burglaries in schools. But I do not understand the need for CCTV within school during school hours simply to watch children. I think it's excessive. I think it's a dangerous policy.
Schools aren't prisons. You're there to learn. You're there to be happy, and you won't learn if you're not happy and feeling safe and secure. And if everything you do is monitored and granted access or not, it leads to an environment which I don't think personally is that great for learning.
The perverse consequence of having more CCTV, more checks, the surveillance society, is that it makes the environment that we inhabit seem less and less safe. Why do we have all this equipment surrounding us? Why are we being watched all the time? Is that not an indication of the fact that it's not a safe environment. So the best solution for feelings of unsafety, of risk in an environment, is to increase the level of dynamic security, by which I mean human interaction which is trusting. And that's what we tend to be throwing away. And that's where we need smaller units where the teachers know the kids and are trusted by them and know when there is risky behaviour going on and know how to respond to it in situ.
But despite many people's concerns about the surveillance society creeping into our lives, some young people have grown accustomed to being watched.
Teachers can't be everywhere at the same time, and we need that CCTV to see anything that is worrying, and it's just all about that safety really, so I think it's good.
I think it's useful us all knowing that there is CCTV, because then it will encourage us in the first place not to do it, so we won't get to the later stages.
Well, when we first got CCTV, I hated it because it's just a thought of people watching you 24/7 and it makes them feel weird. But now, it takes getting used to. But I think it's good now because now if someone does something, even if they try and deny it, they can't because we've got proof.
I think children always regard the environment they're growing up in as perfectly normal, and to take it to its extreme, if you talk to children who've been abused, a lot of the time they didn't report it because they didn't realise it was abnormal. They assumed life was like that for everyone. And I think in the same way the children get used to being watched by CCTV cameras and being monitored by systems to see what they choose for their school lunch, and it never occurs to them that it's quite intrusive behaviour and quite difficult to justify.
So how best to strike a balance between the effective use of physical security and encouraging a free and open learning environment in schools?
The school can be over-secure, which again can be counterproductive because it kind of suggests that there is a problem. There isn't a particular problem within this school from the point of view that we very rarely have people come onto the school site. We very rarely have problems in the corridors. However, the national agenda is about safeguarding our students.
We have actually been invited to put a bid in for a brand new school because of building schools for the future, but we've actually chosen to keep the main building as is and actually just do some upgrading and refurbishing because the school actually works very well. We need building spaces for things like art and performing and dancing and drama. Security isn't something I'd spend huge amounts of money on even if I had it, because I don't actually think we need it.
Obviously schools aren't fortresses, and we know that successful schools are built on good relationships, and there has to be a certain atmosphere of trust and responsibility around the place. And so having things like knife detectors that you have to walk through when you come into the building they do risk changing the whole ethos of the school, and that's probably where we would be most worried. And obviously that would then affect the relationship between the teachers and the pupils and the way they work generally.
Security, it was an integral part and a very, very important part of what we wanted to achieve. We're trying very hard at this academy, not just to create educational excellence, but we want to create a place where children are valued, secured and can grow, and it's about creating that right climate and that aspiration. And security is integral to that.
For all that modern technology can do to make a school secure, some remain firmly convinced that the best way to encourage a safe and productive environment is to build on the crucial relationship between teacher and pupil.
The ideal school is a human scale school where there are personal, long-lasting, trusting relationships between the staff and the students. And if you're saying that fingerprinting or whatever is the necessary corollary of very large schools where people don't know who is whom, then the thing to do is to change the size of the school unit so that there is a more continuous relationship between the adults and the students. That's the essence of all constructive relationships in a learning environment.